We could be getting the next generation of PlayStation and Xbox as early as 2027, which is just ridiculous to think about, but it's not that far away, and we have some information to take a look at. Now, these are technically informed rumors or leaks, so to speak, with some confirmed things thrown in there, so take it with a grain of salt. But all of this information is public online, so yeah, let's just get into it. We do have some spicy stuff here to look at. So starting out, historically, console life cycles are around 7 years. Now, you may be thinking that we're not even close to that point. The PS5 and Xbox Series X literally just came out a couple of years ago. It's already been 5 years, which is just insane to think about. So we're in the current time period where it just makes sense to start talking about the next generation. The PlayStation 4 was launched in 2013, and the PlayStation 5 was in 2020, like I said, and then the Xbox One was in 2013, the Series X 2020, so it just makes sense for this next wave to be 2027. So, of course, hearing whispers about it now, midway through 2025, just seems to make sense. These two consoles are most likely going to continue their trend of releasing around the same time of each other. Probably that holiday season of 2027, they're going to get a whole bunch of sales from the competition of releasing at the same time, as well as the holiday season. So it's a pretty good business model for them there. It worked really well in 2020. I'm sure they're going to keep that up. Now, with some of that context out of the way, let's pivot to what we do know for now, and then we'll use that to break down some of the individual leaks that we have as of right now. So, Microsoft openly confirmed that a next-gen Xbox is in the works, so that's a really good start to hear that we actually do have a next-gen console. This is not all just completely up in the air. The Xbox president, Sarah Bond, announced a strategic multi-year partnership with AMD, obviously the CPU chip manufacturer. And we saw the beginnings of that already with the Xbox Ally. Obviously, it's going to be AMD powered. It's going to be a really awesome handheld, one of the most powerful ones on the market. And some of these whispers, some of these rumors are that Xbox is going to be kind of like a console PC hybrid. And I mean, this just really makes sense. I mean, if they're going in the direction of, having AMD CPU chips and things like that, like, I can't imagine that this isn't the case. Like, what else are they trying to do here? And then this announcement kind of trickles down into the Xbox's vision for a multi-device ecosystem where basically the Xbox experience is not locked to a single store or a single device. It's kind of everything. It's the handhelds, the Xbox Cloud, PCs, the consoles, etc. And with that comes this massive backward compatibility, which seems to be a really big part of their whole business plan right now, their value proposition. They want these next-gen consoles to play every existing Xbox title, which is obviously a huge hit in the video game consumer market. We all would love to see that. That's exactly what we want, so that's really a great thing. And then they explicitly stated that they're not just launching a console, but a portfolio. So this kind of goes back to the ecosystem thing with the handheld, the cloud hardware, the PCs, etc. So I think 2026 and 2027 are going to be some massive years for Xbox, for Microsoft. They have a lot going on here, just so many different moving parts and, different pieces that we're trying to put together in this puzzle. I think that this next Xbox is going to be completely groundbreaking with everything that they're trying to do. I mean, you even have some pretty early on leaked messaging that said the Xbox was going to let third-party OEMs build Xbox-branded hardware like HP, Lenovo, Asus, all under a unified Xbox umbrella. And analysts all over these, gaming journalism websites are speculating that this is going to be not just another incremental upgrade, but the largest technical leap that we've ever seen in consoles with this next generation. So they've told us hardware is coming, they're rethinking where and how we play Xbox, and they're leaning heavily into this AMD and Windows integration, kind of with this PC hybrid idea, and I love it. Microsoft is positioning Xbox not as just a console, but a platform that spans multiple devices, and their mindset is to empower choice in the consumers, and when you have that mindset, a lot of money tends to follow. It's like the consumers pick the shape of what Xbox they want, if they want a handheld, if they want, the actual console itself, etc. and then Xbox handles the rest. They handle the ecosystem, the Ally, the cloud devices, Windows streaming, Game Pass, the OEM involvement from third parties, etc. It seems like Microsoft has a really good plan here. Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond both said that they're reducing this friction between like multiple devices, and they want the same library, the same experience from any device. So kind of this omnichannel approach, which just seems to be the approach that most businesses are trying to take, the pivot that most businesses are trying to make here in 2025. So I'm glad to see that they're keeping up with that. I've always been an Xbox person my whole life, but I've had, PlayStations here and there, so no bad blood there, but I am really, really happy to see that Xbox is taking that first step to differentiate themselves finally. It seems like Xbox and PlayStation have been so mirrored for so long, and the only thing that really differentiated them were personal preference and like the exclusives on each console. So I'm happy to see that there's some real like physical differentiations going on here, because I think that it's much needed right now. So now you contrast that with Sony, which for now has kept a super tight lid on their PlayStation 6 plans, but some of the leaks are cropping up enough to where we have some substance to talk about here. So there's mentions of the PS6 being close to the end of its physical development, targeting a release in late 2027, which is the same exact thing for Microsoft's. Now, just because they're, getting close to the end of their physical development does not mean that, maybe we're going to get 2026 or anything like that. It seems like no matter what, no earlier than 2027 is the plan. There's obviously a lot of steps that follow the physical development, but this is also just a rumor as well, so it could not be true to begin with. And then earlier reports suggest that development started as far back as 2022, with AMD chosen again to preserve backward compatibility from the PlayStation 5. So it seems like AMD is kind of working both sides of the story here. I'll be really interested to see how that plays out, considering at the end of the day, even if they say the console war is done, they're still, competitors. Sony's leadership has said that they're continuing success with the PlayStation 5 and the PS5 Pro, but they haven't committed to a PS6 date window yet. But they've expressed plenty of confidence that consumers still want local hardware, which might be a bit of a different approach than what Xbox is taking. But then you have Sony canceling the new Blade Runner title meant for the PS5 in 2027, which hints that the PS6 may slip into that same time frame. Obviously, if they want Blade Runner to be a next-gen game, they're not going to bring it out on the PlayStation 5 if the PlayStation 6 is coming out that same year. So just a little thing to think about there. So Sony still seems to be into that hardware-defined experience, that classic console kind of thing. Sure, PS Plus and the cloud play a role, but they're catering to gamers who want that traditional console ecosystem, which isn't a bad thing. I think maybe Xbox might be doing too much with what they're trying to do. Maybe that's where Sony finally comes in and really gets a leg up on them, because people just want to have a traditional experience, and that's where Sony comes in. But it is cool to kind of see like the diverging of these two companies. You have Sony emphasizing this strong local hardware and premium exclusives, while Xbox is kind of betting on flexibility, openness, and like a play from anywhere kind of experience. And then on the spec side of things, there are some leaks that have talked about some absolutely stacked CPUs with AMD. Of course, that's kind of given, I guess you could say. 32 gigabytes of RAM, custom Gen 5 SSDs. Basically, these next generations are aiming for a significant performance boost. So, I mean, performance-wise, specs-wise, these are going to be, unlike anything we've ever seen, that's for sure. So, at the very least, I'm excited for that. So, unless there's a complete, catastrophic market reason, both camps appear to be poised for a 2027 staggered rollout, possibly within just a couple of months of each other to avoid giving the other, company dominance in the holiday launch season. But I know I've said it a couple times in this video, I just love to see that these two companies are slightly diverging just a little bit. And I think that that divergent philosophy is what is really going to define this next generation of consoles. Will your PlayStation 6 be a powerful living room traditional box console with like bleeding edge graphics and an exclusive ecosystem, whereas Xbox kind of has this modular hardware with a console, a handheld, cloud boxes, Windows integrated devices, hybrid PCs, etc. And there's kind of this parity experience across them. Is this where one of the consoles finally differentiates itself with their approach, aside from just console exclusives? I'm really excited. We don't know the full devil in the details yet, but that's the fork in the road that we're currently at, and I'm just super excited looking at it in the distance. We're about 2.5 years away from that targeted window, so plenty of time to speculate, that's for sure, and plenty of time to build up a whole lot of hype around it. So I'll be sure to update you guys on anything new that we find out. Make sure you keep an eye on any AMD announcements and any Microsoft or Sony events that could give us some more hints down the line. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. And besides for that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.